Hi, welcome back to the other session of Java programming. In this session, we are going to discuss about multi-threading. We'll see about thread class, how to create a thread by using two methods. The previous session, we discussed about exceptions and how to handle the exceptions and how to create our own exceptions. Multi-threading. Yes, there is a word called thread in this. Thread is basically a lightweight sub-process, or we can say it is the smallest unit of processing. So your process, as we have studied in operating system ಅಲ್ಲಿ process ಅಂತ ಓದಿದೀವಲ್ಲ. What is a process? Process is a program in execution. ಆ process ನ ನಾವು sub process ಆಗಿ create ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ thread ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So it is a lightweight process or a lightweight sub-process. Java supports us to create multiple threads and these threads can be executed simultaneously. So the independent part of the program can be executed simultaneously by using this multi-threading concept. What is the advantage of this thread? Because threads don't allocate separate memory. So now operating system allo odidivi every process should be allocated with the memory. But illi ಒಂದು process ನ ನಾವು threads ಆಗಿ divide ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ separate ಆಗಿ memory allocate ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. And also since it is working inside a process, the switching from one thread to the other thread becomes very simple and it also takes very less time. This multi-threading is mostly used in games and animations in Java. So when you say thread is a lightweight process. As I said, a system may consist of a number of processes. Process 1, 2, 3. So this process 2 and 3 consist of only one thread, that is what we call as main thread, whereas process 1 is divided into 3 threads, thread 1, 2 and 3. And this we call it as multi-threading, and each and every thread is independent of each other. One is not going to affect the other and it is going to share a common memory area. So the same like your process in operating system, threads also can be implemented in your system. When I say thread is a class in Java because Java is a pure object-oriented language. Everything is represented as a class. So let us see few methods inside this thread class. The first one is run. So this is the most important method in a thread. So this run method contains the code to be executed by a thread during the execution. So that is considered as run method. So run method should be implemented inside every thread. The next one is the start method. The start method will start the execution of the thread and it will call the JVM and automatically the control will be transferred to the run method. The next one is sleep method for milliseconds. It will make the current thread to sleep or go to the past state for a particular milliseconds of time. The time is given in milliseconds. Next one is join. Join means it will wait for the thread to die. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಮೇನ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಮೇನ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಇಂದ 4 ಸಬ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸಬ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಿರಂದ್ರೆ ಆ 4 ಸಬ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗೋ ತನಕ ಈ ಮೇನ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಶುಡ್ ವೇಟ್. ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ವೇಟ್ ಟಿಲ್ ದ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಡೈ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನೋಡಿ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿಲಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ವೇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಟು ಡೈ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮಿಲಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ಸ್. ಗೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಯಾರಿಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಯಾರಿಟಿ. ಎವ್ರಿ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ like your process can be assigned with a priority. So to get the priority of the thread, we use a get priority method. Similarly, we can set the priority of a particular thread by using set priority. And every thread can be assigned with the name. So you can get the name of the thread by using get name, and set name can be used to set the name of the thread. This is an interesting method, that is current thread. current thread is a static method which will return the reference to the currently executing thread. ಮಲ್ಟಿ-ಥ್ರೆಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿ-ಥ್ರೆಡಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ಒನ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದಾಗದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು. ಈಗ ಅಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಐ ಡಿ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅನ್ ಐ ಡಿ that will be returned by get id, and get state of the thread. Get state will return the state of the thread. So these are the commonly used methods of thread class. Let us see how to create a thread in Java. Thread can be created in Java in two ways. One is by extending a thread class or by implementing runnable interface. Let us discuss both these methods with example. So in thread class we have a set of constructors and methods. So we can create a thread or our own thread by extending this particular thread class. Means all the methods inside this thread class will be automatically obtained by our thread also. Let us see how to create a thread in both the ways. One is by extending a thread class and the second one is by implementing a runnable interface. In both the cases, what we have to remember is we have to implement a method called run, public void run, public void run. What this method contains? This method contains the actual job of the thread or the job assigned to that particular thread is given by this run method. So both the cases we have to implement this run method. So let us start with the first one, that is extending a thread. Class myThread extends thread, public void run. Once we extend a thread, this myThread will become a thread and this run method will give the body of execution, that is the job assigned to this particular thread. So after implementing this run method, we have to create an object for the thread from our main method. Usually myThread thread1 is equal to new myThread. So an object for this myThread is created. After creation, your thread will not go for the running state. You have to give thread1 dot start. It will start the execution of your thread. When you want to create a thread by extending thread class, you have to remember 4 steps. Step 1, you have to extend a thread class. Step 2, you have to implement the run method. Step 3, in your main method, you have to create an instance of the object, that is myThread. You have to create an instance of the thread myThread, and the 4th step is you have to use the start method to start the execution of that particular thread. So this is for extending a thread. Let us see how to implement it using a runnable interface. So here class myThread, instead of extends we use a keyword implements runnable. Runnable is an interface, so we are going to use a keyword called implements. Yes, similar to the previous code, here also we have to give your run method, and in your main program you have to create an object for your class myThread. Then one more step is required. You have to create the object for that particular thread by using this thread object. So thread object is created here. You have to use this myThread constructor by passing a runnable object. My object is a runnable object, and this is passed as an argument for the thread constructor, and then you have to go for start the execution. So here how many steps you have to remember? Step 1 is implements runnable. Step 2, you have to implement your run method. Step 3, you have to create object for your runnable class, and step 4, create a thread object by passing this runnable object as an argument, and step 5, you have to go for start the thread. Then only the thread will start its execution. So this is how we create the threads, by using a thread class or by implementing runnable interface. Let us see this example. Class myThread extends thread. Public void run. I am going to print the numbers from 0 to 10, and this is a child thread. In this main method, we are going to create an object for myThread. So myThread object is created. So step 1 is over, 2 is over, this is step 3, and we go for step 4. Now I am going to print the main thread also, the values 1 to 10. So what will happen here? It will start printing the value of the main thread, and in between, whenever it goes for sleep, it will go for the child thread to execute. So this child thread and the main thread will execute, switching from the one another. The same coding can be implemented using a runnable interface. So we have to say class myThread1 implements runnable, and second step is you have to implement the run method. Then we come for the main program. Here we create an object for myThread, that is your step 3, and we are going to create a thread object which takes this runnable instance as an input. So this is your step 4, and step 5 will start the initiation of the thread execution, and this is the coding for your main thread. So the methods can be used for creating the threads, but what is the difference between these two methods? Why one should be used instead of other? Let us see. Imagine we have a thread class. Imagine we are going to create a thread. So we say that class myThread extends thread anta kottidini. So this particular class want to inherit any other class, means it is not possible in Java, because extends can use only one particular class. But in the same place, if you use runnable, then a particular class can extend another class, and it also can implement a runnable interface to create a thread. That is the first advantage of a runnable interface against this thread class. The other one is, when you implement runnable, it shares the same object to multiple threads. So there is no space allocated for every object. So we can save the space of the class by using runnable interface. So in normal execution, we prefer implementing runnable interface than extending a thread class. Please refer these books for more detail. Have a nice day.